Season 1, Episode 1.
It begins.
The beginning. And welcome to Dead and Kind of Famous, where we dig into the life stories of dead folks who enjoyed a touch or two of fame in their time.
And now reside permanently in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Hello, I'm Marissa Rivera, and I know how to get on and off of the 110 freeway without dying. And other than that, I know nothing.
And I'm Courtney Blomquist, and I know how to make vegan truffles. And really, it's simple. And they're delicious, and no one knows. And I'm not going to give you the recipe, but I will give you a lot of information about today's subject.
No, you should post the recipe in the notes.
All right.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about Baron Clement von Frankenstein.
Whoa.
Yes.
What a name.
He's got a great name, and we're going to talk about exactly what we can see on his gravestone, because that's all we want Marissa to know. So I want you, Marissa,
okay,
to look at this grave. All right, so the image is a little blurry. We're on Find a Grave right now.
Wait, what? That's an actual
That's a site. We'll be using it a lot for this show because it is how you find graves on the internet and the exact actual maps. Because when I'm going, by the way, when we're finding these people, it's like pretty much me wandering through the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, capturing pictures of what I think is interesting, basically just based on people's names or if they have a crazy grave and there's like weird pictures on it. And I don't know, anything that catches my eye, I'm like, you seem interesting, let's go. And so this is our first attempt at that, just so everyone knows. But if you go on findagrave.com and you're looking for somebody that we talk about, they will show you a map of exactly where to find their grave so that if you are, looking for it later, you can find that. And we will include links to all of this in the show notes.
Wow.
But anyway,
I didn't know this existed.
It does. It does.
That's wild.
So you can see what's written on it.
Here is what Baron Clement von Frankenstein's grave says. Born the 28th of May, 1944, died the 9th of May, 2019, age 75 years, 11 months, and 11 days, if you like doing math. The epitaph reads, actor, bon vivant, gentleman, most lovable of friends. Oh, I love that. Oh, that's really sweet.
Yes.
What is a bon vivant?
It is basically like a lover of life. Let's see. Yes. A person who enjoys a sociable and luxurious lifestyle.
Ooh. Well, for a baron, I would expect no less.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I'm looking at the grave, and it looks like really, really nice marble. Mm-hmm. There is a picture of him smoking a cigar.
Mm-hmm. Looking like he's had a few too many drinks.
Yes, indeed. Staring right at you from his grave.
Looking like a bon vivant.
He looks hella bon vivant.
Yes, exactly. Definition of the word. And can we talk about the spelling of his name?
Okay, let's do it.
It is Baron Clement von Frankenstein, but the Franckenstein is spelled with a CK, not just a K, the way you would.
Oh, yes it is. It's VON space FRANCKENSTEIN.
Yeah, so a little different than what you're used to, perhaps. I don't know what reference you might be thinking of.
I don't know. Okay.
So basically, he had a long life and a long name. That's what we know. But do you know anything else about Baron Clement von Frankenstein beyond what his grave tells us, Marissa?
I don't know, but I'm going to hazard a guess.
Yeah. So at this point, this is when, just for all of you and ourselves getting used to the format of the show, you, the ignorant one,
Me, Marissa, the ignorant one.
yes, will judge the book by its cover, judge the grave by its cover, and improvise an obituary for Baron Clement von Frankenstein based entirely on your own judgments and assumptions. Yeah, just judge him, because this is the time.
Okay.
And I'll give you a point for everything you actually randomly get right.
Or close to correct.
Yes, close to correct.
Okay, great. Let's see. Baron Clement von Frankenstein was born in 1944 to his mother, Baroness Mary Janet von Frankenstein, and father, Baron Frank von Frankenstein. And he was the first of 4 siblings, 2 boys, 2 girls. He was born in Germany, somewhere in Frankfurt, actually, Germany. And he realized from a young age that he had a penchant for entertainment and always wanted to go to Hollywood to be a big star. So as soon as he became of age, he packed everything up, his measly little belongings, because they came from nothing. They were a wealthy family before, and then they fell destitute. And since he had nothing to lose, he ran off to Hollywood to pursue his dream. And he did. He acted in several feature films and commercials and was one of the first improvisers. No, wait, let's roll it back. And really loved how sunny and beautiful Hollywood was, and he quickly became friends with his whole apartment complex. His apartment was the apartment to be at. And all of his friends, man, they all said he was the most lovable of all of them. And he really did know how to have a good time. He loved enjoying a cigar after a hard day's work on set. And he enjoyed life to the fullest. He never married, a bachelor till the end, because he liked that free lifestyle. When he passed, he left no one except for his friends. No family survived him. His other 3 siblings died before him back in Germany.
Okay. That's it? That's the end?
That's it. That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. Okay. I want to get into everything that you did get right for sure.
Okay.
As we get to it. And you can point it out if I don't.
Okay, great.
All right. But your score, I would say, is a 4.
A 4?
Yes.
That's out of
well,
I only got 4 things right.
Yeah, out of all of the facts or lies in your case that you shared. Now for the truth and the facts and the real news.
All right.
Presented by me. This is the point when I want our guest to introduce himself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Baron.
The Baron.
I'm Clement, Baron von Frankenstein. This is interesting. There's me with 2 very gorgeous models, and me with a hard-on. As you can see, if you have the name Frankenstein, you have to have a big dick. But anyway, just joking. Back in the...
There he is. Old Clem. Old Clem himself. And for those of you at home who can't see what we were just looking at, as you heard Marissa, he was bragging about a photo of himself as a much younger man with 2 beautiful models. And as he mentions, you can see his erection from beneath his shorts quite Clearly.
Quite clearly.
Yes. And this really is a perfect introduction to this guy. I feel so fortunate that our very first grave that we stumbled upon is someone this interesting. He really, really is. So I'm going to put a link to this film that I just played a little bit of in the show notes. It's very short. It was a short, unfinished doc made for him by his friend, the director Matthew Ford. It is the perfect introduction to this guy. It shows him shuffling along the Hollywood Walk of Fame in his signature monogrammed slippers and speaking compassionately with a Johnny Depp lookalike actor who's been sleeping in the park. And then he's bragging the next minute about taking an acting class with Michelle Pfeiffer when he just happens to stumble across her star on the Walk of Fame. So
it just happens to.
Oh, yeah. It is a delightful little portrait. Honestly, I'm not sure if every grave, every person we focus on is going to even be likable because, like, not all dead people are cool, you know?
Well, much like life.
Yes. Dead or alive. Not everybody's cool.
Not everyone's cool, okay?
But
some people really suck.
But Baron Clement von Frankenstein, he was a cool guy and a very likable guy. Part nobleman, part prolific character actor of small roles, and part dirty old bachelor. Ding, ding, ding. You were right.
I knew it.
That's the first point. Bachelor till the end, for sure. And we will get into that.
To the bitter end.
Like kind of a legendary bachelor, actually. He was not a household name, but if you were lucky enough to meet him, you would not easily forget him. And that is pretty much what everyone who had the pleasure of knowing him said.
Okay, so very memorable character of a man.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay. Where was he born?
Okay, well, let's get into it. So when I say he was a nobleman, and you picked up on this as well, I don't just mean he was a nobleman type. I know we're in Hollywood, but he was actually a nobleman. His name just wasn't Baron like Donald Trump's son, but he was an actual nobleman. Baron Clement von Frankenstein, known more affectionately to his friends as Clem, was born on May 28th, 1944 at Sunninghill near Ascot, Berkshire, so in England.
Okay.
His father, and I'm going to butcher the German names so hard. His father, Sir Georg Freyer von und zu Franckenstein.
Whoa.
Yep. Had been the Austrian ambassador in London until 1938.
Okay, so they're Austrian, not German?
They are Austrian, yes.
Okay.
But disgusted by the annexation of the federal state of Austria into the German Reich, also known, and that event was also known as the Anschluss. Again, I'm so sorry. He renounced his homeland and became a British citizen.
Wow.
Yes. And for this, he was knighted, hence the Sir title.
Okay.
Yes. So shortly after receiving this feather in his cap, Sir Georg or George, it's George without an E on the end. I don't know. Married the much younger Editha King or Edita King. It's Edith with an A on the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the time baby Clem came into the world, his father was a spry young 66 years old.
Wow.
Yep. He was named after his paternal uncle, who had been a director of the Munich Opera.
Oh, so a little bit of creativity runs through his veins already.
Yes, and if it wasn't already clear, he's got some class in those veins as well, and also some intrigue. Though this claim cannot be entirely substantiated.
I love an unsubstantiated claim.
There are several with this guy.
Okay.
It is believed that Mary Shelley had adapted his family name for her famous novel Dr. Frankenstein's Monster after meeting an ancestor of von Frankenstein's who was in Geneva when she was there.
Okay.
This is a story that the Baron liked to share a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, whether it was true or not, he liked to talk about it.
He sure did.
And his family was like
at all his parties that he threw at his apartment.
Nope, that one's not. As far as I can tell, that one's not real. He was too fancy for his own apartment. I feel like he went out in the world. Okay. He was invited to fancy parties.
He was invited to fancy parties, and this was his go-to story.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure. Shelley, of course, left out the von and the C in her characterization of the name, so it was just Frankenstein, not von Frankenstein, like our dear Baron.
Dear Baron.
Dear Baron. Many of the tall tales that surround this guy are all kind of in the same category of like, do we believe it? Do we not believe it?
I want to believe it.
I want to believe this one. I feel like this is not the most outlandish of the things that I've heard so far about the Baron.
Okay. What else about the Baron?
Well, okay. So sadly, when Clem was just 9 years old, both his parents were killed in a tragic plane crash. Their plane had caught fire and crashed after taking off from Frankfurt, and the accident resulted in 44 deaths.
Oh, that's awful.
It's very sad.
So he was orphaned.
At 9 years old. Yes.
Really young. Oh, my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So who did he go live with?
He went to live with some family friends, but there was some mystique around the whole crash, according to him as well. This is another story he likes to tell in interviews. Clem has said that there was a theory that a Russian KGB general on board was defecting on the flight and that sabotage may have been involved. But this theory, again, was never proven.
Interesting, unsubstantiated claim, Baron.
Yes.
Wow. Such intrigue.
It's such intrigue, yes. And in any case, Clem was in prep school when he received news of his parents' death, and he was not allowed to attend the funeral because the school thought he was too young to attend, which is very sad.
That is so sad.
And Clem himself said that this decision, quote, really pissed me off because the British were so fucking uptight in those days.
In those days?
In all days. And I agree with him. I mean, like, he was too young to lose his parents is the thing.
Oh, my, way
like,
too young.
Because he did, like, let him have a proper goodbye.
Exactly.
Can't be too young
He
to
never
go to
got to say goodbye.
Yeah.
That's so
crazy.
tragic.
It's so crazy.
That's awful.
You can't be too young for these things. I mean, I just brought my baby to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery where I stumbled across this very grave. So I'm sure she won't remember it, but wish she did. After his parents' death, Clem was raised in Gloucester? Gloucester.
Yes.
God damn it. All right.
Gloucestershire.
Gloucestershire. It's like Worcestershire. I can't pronounce anything right. After his parents' death, Clem was raised in Gloucester by the Taylors, a British family who had been close friends of his parents. And I could find nothing to indicate that he had been formally adopted by the Taylors.
Okay.
But he had a good relationship with them and remained very close with his foster sister, Celia Plunkett, throughout his life.
Celia Plunkett?
Yes. So he did not have siblings. He was the only kid of his parents, but he had a foster sister.
Okay.
So in true posh tradition, the Baron received his education at Eton College, which is an extremely competitive and well-known British boys' school.
Sure is.
You know of it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. It is well known. I didn't know of it, but it is well known. It's in Berkshire, England. It's for boys aged 13 to 18. So this was like for our context, like high school years.
Mm-hmm.
From
It's
there,
like it's a boarding school.
yeah, it's a boarding school. He seems to have gone to all prep schools and boarding schools. I mean, he's a baron down to the very core. Like, he is just a baron's baron.
He is indeed.
Yes. This is just not a typical Hollywood backstory for most people, I would assume. Except for all those royals that are out here hoofing it and trying to get
those
in
Netflix
commercials.
deals.
Yeah. From there, he joined the ranks of the Royal Scots Greys, a cavalry regiment of the British Army, during which time he used the sex appeal of his uniform to its full extent.
Oh, watch out. It's the Baron in a uniform.
Oh, yeah. He was pretty sexy when he was younger. Like, he kind of had like a young Rod Stewart, if he was a brunette thing going on.
Does he?
Do you want to see?
I want to see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. The caption on this photo, where I think he looks like a young Rod Stewart without blonde hair, sort of. He's got that, like, we can't tell how tan he is.
He
really
looks like
from
John
picture.
Belushi.
Oh, interesting. He's a little more chiseled, though.
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, and he has puka shells on his picture, which I just realized. Oh, how embarrassing for him. Anyway, but it's a caption.
Those were all the rage in what looks like the 1970s. And
Yeah,
again,
1975.
And again in the early 2000s. So
Yes, which is so embarrassing for all the people. Yeah.
all of us.
Yes.
Not me. I didn't ever
I did
wear
that. You know what?
puka
That's
shells.
because
I 100% did, yes.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
100%.
do you know what, though? It's more authentic that you did because you grew up in Florida and I grew up in Indiana, and that is just like insane to be like, it's natural for me to wear shells around my neck. No, it's not. It's not.
I just want to clarify. I did not do all of my growing up in Florida. I'm not a Floridian. I would just like to put that caveat out there. I do not claim Florida. Moving on.
This is unsubstantiated. Okay. Okay, so yes, we were just talking about how he used his sex appeal of his uniform.
How could you not?
Yes. And this habit of partying in his full regalia came to light when he was found in a nightclub in Hamburg, Germany, with what several of his obituaries described as, quote, ladies of the town. And I'm not sure if that means that they were local women or local sex workers, but that's neither here nor there. They're obituaries. You never know if people are trying to, throw somebody a softball or not.
The last softball.
Like, But he wouldn't have cared. That's the thing. I think he would have loved the mysteriousness.
The Baron?
Did I pay for them or not? I don't know.
I don't know. Depends what story I tell you tonight at this party.
Exactly. The point is, his reputation as a naughty playboy was taking shape. In defense of his bad habits during this time, Clem is quoted as saying, I was very much a soldier's officer. I would have been fine in a war, but I was lousy in peacetime. So he was basically like, I'm a man's man. I would have occupied my time with important things like war, had there been a war, but since there wasn't, I just decided to fuck a bunch of people.
I decided to occupy my time with a bunch of women.
Yeah, to occupy women. Clem was also pretty lousy with money. He loved to gamble and have a good time, and this led him to breezing through his inheritance before he ever hopped across the pond to Hollywood.
Wow. And if there was ever a town that you needed inheritance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. That would have gone so far here.
Totally. It's such a boon to be a trust fund kid here. Truly. So he lost that chance, and he was pretty broke for a stretch of years and made ends meet working for nightclub owner Harry Meadows, who apparently had several well-known nightclubs in Britain, until, in an unexpected and ironic twist, his nanny left him a legacy.
What?
Yes. So his nanny left him money in her will.
What?
Yes. And this detail
his nanny that his foster parents
It would have had to been, unless it was his nanny from his earlier years, which I guess it could have been either way. I mean, he was 9 when he lost his parents. I didn't find that what era she was from or if he had the same nanny the whole time. It's the only detail about the nanny I could find.
Do we have a name?
No.
Just this mysterious?
Just the mysterious nanny.
Just a mysterious benefactory.
Yeah.
What's the word?
Benefactor.
This mysterious benefactor
of the Baron.
Who also wiped his ass at some point.
Yes. Which is bizarre, and I feel like that detail only makes sense to me if I imagine that the nanny is Fran Drescher, and I think that the reason that makes sense is because she married the father of the children she was watching, so really she would just be giving them his money.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. That's how my brain works. I am sorry.
Oh my gosh. But the reality is that this woman was not married into the family. She just...
No.
Okay, she just left him something. So he did come to Hollywood with some money.
He did. Yes.
Wow.
And after his tenure as a soldier, he went to study opera for 3 years.
Whoa. Okay, so he could sing.
He can sing.
Sang.
Yeah.
Opera is very intense.
Right. And he did it for 3 years. He did ask his teacher when tenors get good, because apparently he was a tenor, which is a little surprising to me after hearing his voice.
Yeah.
I thought he would be not a bass, but a baritone.
Baritone, yeah.
Baron the baritone.
Baron the baritone. If only he could have been a baritone.
Yes.
That would have been so much better.
But I guess maybe I think he smoked a lot, to be honest. I think we're seeing him talk later in his life.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So earlier before the tobacco had gotten...
Right. He had a lovely, resonant voice.
A lovely tenor.
A lovely tenor. So he asked his teacher when tenors get good. So I guess he was having some doubts about his ability. And the teacher said that they don't really get good until age 34. And
what an arbitrary age.
I know, it's very specific. That feels like a voice teacher thing to say, though. to be honest.
Yeah, because you grew up doing voice.
Yes. And so I think that, yeah, I remember someone telling me, like, you don't have to worry about, like, your voice not being good until 36. So I guess for women, it's the opposite, which makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, as women, we do lose our value as we age. So
and
that
just
totally makes sense.
Fade away slowly.
But time out, 34 specifically.
That's what his teacher told him.
35.
34.
That's very interesting.
Yes, and that's not something I did research on to find out if there's any, I don't know, thing to that. That feels like a personal thing to say, like where the teacher was like, I didn't feel like anything came together for me until I was 34.
Yeah, me speaking as a tenor and your teacher.
That's like a very, just, I don't know. Voice teachers are...
not to offend any voice teachers out there.
Not to offend any voice teachers. They're a little self-absorbed. So...
Well, dang, that's a very large blanket statement.
You know what?
Feel free to be offended. I feel offended on your behalf.
I think when you have your own experience, it's hard not to speak from your own experience. It could happen to anybody.
That's very true.
So
we're assuming his teacher was also a self-absorbed tenor who only got good at age 34.
I mean, how would he have those specifics otherwise?
It's true.
It doesn't feel like something that would be in a book or be backed up by any form of science or anything like that. The science of song. So getting this news, the Baron said, quote, "Fuck that," and decided to abandon his singing pursuits for an acting career in Hollywood because he didn't want to wait.
Wow. He said, fuck that. I'm hopping across the pond.
That's what he did, yes. So it was
with his nanny inheritance.
With his nanny inheritance, yeah. Assuming he didn't blow all of it on studying opera, which, you know, he was probably still gambling during that time. I don't have exact financial records, but we assume he had some money from his inheritance. It was 1972 when Clem arrived in California, but it was not in Los Angeles where he first found work, but in Anaheim, where he was hired to play a singing Henry VIII in a Tudor-themed dinner theater experience called 1520 AD.
What? I was expecting you to...
Disneyland?
I was expecting you to go Disneyland, and we just turned a hard left to medieval times.
Not just the outskirts of Hollywood, this man, the outskirts of Anaheim. That's where we are.
And just so people know, so this was like the off Broadway of Anaheim.
Yes. And I did find a little bit about this place. It was a review for after he was employed by this theater.
Okay.
But it gave me an idea of the experience. But what we can assume is that Clem could be found there in the main role, because that's the main role for this. I mean, so
he played the king.
Yeah, he played the king, and he could be found singing "I'm Henry VIII, I Am" and "Danny Boy," while diners banged metal spoons on their table to get the attention of their waitress, or in the terms of this particular establishment, wench. So
wow,
yes, their table wench would come when they banged things on the table.
They said, bang, 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 I want my wench.
Yes, and they didn't even say, like, here, wench, and, like, have someone come over, which would feel very disrespectful. It's like, you don't even deserve for me to give you any kind of name at all. I'm just going to bang a metal spoon on a table until you decide.
Until my needs are met.
Yeah, until my needs are met, and you figure out that I'm talking to you. So that's how that place worked.
Wow. Okay, so this was Clem's first day job.
Yes, in California.
In California, yes.
Exactly. He found some other interesting ways to make money. If you can interpret this next clip I'm going to play for you the way I'm interpreting it, it's a little bit hard to identify his exact verb here.
Okay.
Back in the 70s, $100 a day was quite a lot. So it was broke, and they give you $100 a day to roll around in bed with this girl with a huge boob. So I thought, why not? It was fun,
So I can't tell. And there's one paper that quoted him as saying that he would pay $100 a day when he was broke to roll around in bed with a woman with huge boobs. But I don't think that makes any sense, because if they're saying he's broke, he would get paid to roll around. Do you want to listen again?
Yeah, I want to hear it again.
All right, hold on.
If you have a name Frankenstein, you have to have a big dick. But anyway, there we are. Just
Oh,
joking.
big dick.
Back in the 70s, $100 a day was quite a lot. So, it was broke, and they'd give $100 a day to roll around in bed with this girl with a huge boob. So I thought, why not? It was fun,
They gave you $100 a day to roll around
in bed with a woman with huge boobs.
I think he's talking. I think he's talking about his co-star, like the co-star that the woman he was with. One of the women he was with for this show had big boobs. He said they gave me $100 a day to roll around.
He did say that. So I'm where I have this story lined up is not like he's not talking about working at that restaurant in this video in that interview before this point.
Okay.
So this is just him talking about being in California in the 70s. So it's the same time period. But
and he was like, whatever job I got, it's like $100 a day. That's
he was like, I was broke. Sometimes what I'm hearing is.
What is the Baron telling you, Courtney?
What I think makes sense and what I think he's saying is when I was broke, I would take $100 a day to roll around in bed with a woman with huge boobs. And it was fun, so I didn't care. To me, that's someone saying, I did porn and I'm not ashamed of it. That's what I'm hearing.
The Baron was a sex worker.
I think that the Baron was
hearing.
That's what I'm hearing. Yes.
Okay. Well, you're the gal with the information.
I mean, I don't know.
That's what you got from it. Then
that's the clip. That's the only reference to this, and he is not. He is a mumbler, so it's hard to tell exactly. But I heard that they would give you $100 a day. Is the verb I heard. Okay. Like they'd give you $100 a day. Yeah, something like that.
Big boobs.
That's what I heard. Yeah. So again, unsubstantiated information. But that's what I think. I think you did some porn. I think the Baron did some porn.
Oh, Baron.
Yes.
Cheeky Baron.
Cheeky old Clem showed some cheek for a check.
Wow. Okay.
But eventually the Baron started to work for real and get booked on a regular basis. Though he was technically uncredited, one of the Baron Clement von Frankenstein's first roles was, ironically, in Mel Brooks' 1974 spoof, Young Franckenstein.
He only got hired because of his last name. He, that the producers were like, wouldn't it be so funny?
Yes.
To have this.
Or Mel Brooks himself.
Or honestly. Mel Brooks himself, yes. Was like, that's hilarious. Hire this guy.
Yes. And so he's not actually credited, but according to IMDb, his part was that of the, quote, villager screaming at the monster from the bars. I don't know if those are like drinking bars or behind bars. Very vague. But that was his part. And it is easy to imagine, as you were just saying, him charming casting directors. He's clearly very charming, even just in the clips you can hear, with his family lore and trying to get in that way. Because he did like to tell that story. And despite the small part, he must have made a good impression on Mel Brooks because he was cast again almost 20 years later in his 1993 film Robin Hood Men in Tights as the royal announcer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, that's a long game. That's a long game relationship.
Wow.
Yes.
He networked the shit out of Mel Brooks.
Yeah, he did. He was like, remember me? The Baron von Frankenstein?
And Mel Brooks was like, yes, I do. You are quite unforgettable.
You are quite unforgettable. You are lovable and unforgettable, as all of your friends say. So when he was credited, Clem often chose to drop his title from his name so as not to be intimidating. So you'll often, yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
She's like, I deserve, listen, and I know that you should bow to me, but I will not require it.
In fact, I will hide this fact. In fact, I will hide the fact that I am royal adjacent.
You're welcome.
As to maintain a veneer of professionalism. Professionalism.
Yes, he's had a few drinks before this audition.
Exactly.
That tracks.
Mm-hmm. Whilst on this Mel Brooks set, yes.
Yes. Yeah, he would drop his title. You'd often see him on the cast list simply as Clement von Frankenstein. So he's credited many times that way. If you are looking for the Baron's credits, note that is how they are often presented. And on that note, he had no expectations of friends using his title because, again, he was a humble baron. But a certain Austrian bodybuilder always followed decorum. As Clem said himself, I rarely use my title in L.A., but Arnold always calls me Baron.
Oh, my God.
Which is perfect.
Just casually slipping in.
Oh, yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's
first name only, by the way.
the biggest name dropper.
Wow.
Yes. Throughout his career, Clem's casting was varied, but after reviewing his resume, I'd define him as a tarnished silver spoon. He was classy, but he was also unmistakably grimy.
That tracks.
Yes.
That tracks.
It does. Much like his own name, his higher class characters often had some sort of title.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, he was cast as a lord more than once, which actually could be the title for a baron as well.
Yeah.
As well as doctors, commissioners, colonels, and judges.
So he was typecast as like either a lord or like a white collar.
Yes, like somebody who had some level of like gravitas or reverence to them a little bit.
Got it. Okay. This makes sense for the Baron.
Yes, I think so. And when he was playing a lower class character, because he also did that.
He's got range.
He's got range.
He's
The
got
Baron's
range.
got range. His roles usually contained at least some level of that same gravitas or elegance still.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, he often played announcers, maitre d's, and butlers. So,
okay,
right?
Yes.
But somewhat unsurprisingly, he was also convincing as a sleaze and a cad. Like,
You had to really stretch for those roles.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Like the time he played a Danish pervert on an episode of Californication that was aptly titled Perverts and Whores. Basically, if I had to compare Clem to a cocktail, he'd be a filthy martini made with top shelf gin. Classy, but a little gross.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. Now, although he himself, I think, preferred cognac, but, that's a wannabe move, Clem.
Does he, is that,
Yes.
oh.
He did prefer
That
cognac.
is a fact.
Yes. He likes, I know from the documentary that I've referenced that y'all should watch, he drinks a sidecar in Hollywood's oldest bar, which is a treat for him, he said. But then...
What's Hollywood's oldest bar? I don't know this.
You know what? I don't know. We'll put it in the show notes. I don't remember. But it was because it's just in the video. He drinks it in Hollywood's oldest bar.
Okay, I just Googled it really quick. The oldest bar in LA is the King Eddie Saloon, which opened in 1906.
Try oldest restaurant.
Okay, Hollywood's oldest
Restaurant.
Musso and Frank.
That's it.
Okay.
Yes. That's the one. I knew it began with an M.
Proudly serving Hollywood since 1919.
Okay, so the oldest bar is a little older than the oldest restaurant, is what we know.
Yep. So he was drinking at the oldest restaurant.
Yeah, and then there's pictures like this on his Instagram with an empty bottle of cognac and a half-burned cigar outside of what I'm assuming.
Not a bottle, a glass, an empty glass of okay.
Yeah, and I think this is from in the documentary you can see like what the exterior of his apartment looked like.
So he did live in an apartment.
He did live in an apartment. He lived in an apartment since 1981, I believe. So he lived there for almost 30 years. I think actually of just about 30 years. And rented from the same friend for a long time. So I feel like you got that detail right because he was friends with everyone in his apartment building, which was pretty much just his landlord because it's just like a building with an apartment on top.
Okay.
But like I think the landlord lives underneath.
I was right.
Yes.
I was right. Another point for me.
Yes. But yes, so he preferred cognac, but I thought he was a dirty martini. I think I'm right. Fight me, Clem. Oh, you can't. You're dead. Anyway. Just kidding, love you.
Just kidding. We respect everyone.
He would appreciate it. He makes fun of himself. Over the course of his 40-year career, some of his roles were notable. For instance, he played Senator Sestimus Amidius in the Coen brothers film Hail Caesar alongside George Clooney. He shared scenes with him, yes. And he is often remembered as France's head of state, President d'Astier, in Rob Reiner's 1995 film, The American President. But he also had roles that were more on the nothing end of the spectrum.
Don't we all?
Yep. Like the time he played a corpse in Murder, She Wrote. It was a corpse with a name, but it was still a corpse.
It was still a dead body.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, he played the victim.
He played the victim. I think the whole episode was built around his death, which is like, that feels bigger, I guess, but also he played a dead body. So, but Clem didn't turn up his nose at any role, and he prided himself in being a working actor. So if you asked him to play dead, the Baron was gonna fucking play dead.
Oh my God, me and Clem have so much in common.
Yes. Take the money. Take the money.
Take the money.
This
work on set.
Absolutely. And this resulted in an IMDb resume that topped out at 128 credits.
Wow.
So, I mean, some of them are like, what is that? And other ones, you know it, though,
yeah.
you know? So it's impressive. I think it's impressive.
We're a steadily working actor.
For 40 years. I mean,
Wow.
goals, I think, right?
Yeah. I bet he qualified for insurance.
I'm sure he did. If you look at if you look at this IMDb, it is lengthy. It is long. This is his credits.
I want to see his headshot.
I don't know.
Is there a headshot on there?
Yeah.
Okay. This might be a headshot.
It might be. I mean, he's not looking at the camera. It's black and white.
It's black and white, but black and white
was
the
thing.
standard.
Yeah.
For a while.
Mm-hmm,
for the longest time, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And he's wearing a suit and he's gazing.
He's gazing off
into the sunset.
Yeah, he's contemplative. He's contemplative. 120.
He's not a bad looking man.
No, he's not. I mean, he sort of like, he gained weight later, and you know, you can see that. But he always had a presence for sure, and he had this huge resume.
What was his last credit?
His last credit, interesting you should ask, is a film called Starfucker with an asterisk for the U, that features a lot of people who are like playing themselves, and Andy Dick was in it playing himself, and so was oh my God, it's Nicolas Cage's son, Weston Cage Coppola, who I did not know was a person.
I did not know that either.
And he looks like Nicolas Cage's son in the, I mean, look at him. He's got those like icy blues.
We are side barring.
We're side barring
right
really
now.
hard, but like, yeah, I mean, you asked about the last credit and I already went down this rabbit hole, so I just wanted you to know. I'm kind of just priding myself about the fact that I didn't talk about how in Young Frankenstein, the monster was played by the same guy who played Frank Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
That was him. I was like, what?
I did know that.
Which is crazy.
Know that.
Yes. But as I think I've already made evident, his life off screen was far more interesting than any of the roles he played, and the stories of his antics often preceded him. Clem was a dear friend to many in Hollywood, and as you might expect from someone with such a pedigree, he ran in some elite circles.
Ooh.
Yes. Many of his obituaries mentioned that he was a longtime member of the Hollywood and Beverly Hills Cricket Club, playing on an improvised pitch under the Hollywood sign with Mick Jagger, Hugh Grant, and Julian Sands. So
hello team.
Yes, he was not at the level a lot of the people he was friends with. I think he was just one of these people who was such an interesting guy that
no one minded having him around.
No, he got invited to stuff too. Like people wanted to be his friend. That's the impression I
want to be his friend.
I know. He seems so great. But perhaps the most treasured aspect of being Clem's friend were the stories you'd amass in the process. For instance, these are my favorite. Once he ran into friends after being stood up for a date and had an impromptu dinner with them. But it soon became clear that he had already popped a Viagra in anticipation of the date.
Oh my God.
And I love that these stories show up in like all of his obituaries, which is so funny to me. It's like everyone's like, this is what I'm going to talk about now that you're dead.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
I know.
Just imagine having a raging heart on while you're just having dinner with your friends.
Nope, nothing's wrong. Little lightheaded, I'm fine. Another popular story about Clem that I only half understand is that a, quote, poor innocent drank the contents of a bottle of Spanish brandy that Clem had used to sterilize himself after enjoying some sexual deviances in Tijuana. So
what?
I can imagine that he thought he was sterilizing himself by like dumping the Spanish brandy on his dick, right? That's how you would.
That's how I interpret this.
That's not also something you should do. I mean, I hope no one's listening to this podcast for medical advice, but pretty sure that
please don't.
Pretty sure that doesn't work. But also, so if someone drank the contents of that bottle and they're saying the story like it's so gross, does that mean that he like saved it and then put it back in the bottle to reuse to sterilize himself again?
Oh God.
Just what do you think? Because I really...
Well, he clearly brought that bottle from Tijuana back into California.
And he was like, this has to be used again. I don't want to waste any more liquor on this. So let's just reuse this. Put it in one of those little like cat bowls that, or no, you like fountains that filters water. Just keep it going.
Yeah, just keep it going. Yeah, that's right. And you can say what you want about the Baron, but he's a waste not, want not kind of a guy.
He knows what he's been wealthy, but he also knows what it's like to be broke. He doesn't waste liquor.
He doesn't.
So he's got his drinking brandy and his dick brandy.
And again, some poor innocent girl.
Oh, it just said poor innocent, so it could have been a guy. We don't know. Somebody drank it.
Okay, I assumed it was a girl.
I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
It could have been. We don't know. So here's another cute story. One of Clem's friends recounted that when he was formally announced as the Baron Clement von Frankenstein upon entering the Viennese Opera Ball at the Beverly Wilshire, again, fancy party he gets invited to.
Fancy party means use of the full name.
Yes. And a woman, upon hearing his introduction, very loudly exclaimed to her husband, "Honey, that's the name of that monster." And at that point, the Baron turned to her and bellowed, "My dear madam, Franckenstein was the doctor." And he later shared in confidence with his friend that the loud woman's red dress made her look like a, quote, London bus.
Dang.
Scathing Baron.
Sick burn, yeah. Clem. Sick burn.
And when it came to his love life, which we've been dancing around so far.
We sure have.
Yes. The Baron's exploits were expansive, but he never chose to settle down, as we have discussed.
Yeah.
He was a lover of all women, though, and he stated once in an interview that I've had quite a few interesting girlfriends. I like women of all colors, white and black and brown.
But any color of the rainbow, as long as there's a hole, I'm in it to win it.
Oh, yeah. He loved women, for sure. But he had his preferences, okay? So he had varied taste, but he had his preferences. And he said specifically that he was looking for a woman who was over 40, smart, independent, and buxom.
Oh, yes. He clearly was a titty boy.
Yes. And he went on to say, I can't abide skinny, stupid women. So he must have felt...
He wouldn't have liked you then, Courtney.
No, I know. I'm just a fangirl. I'm not his wife of choice. But nobody was. Nobody could meet his standards.
No one could meet his standards.
She could be any color of the rainbow, but she had to be buxom and she had to be smart. That was his requirements.
Wow.
And he also warned that any woman who kicked off the conversation with a Frankenstein joke was destined for the reject bin. He was not amused by that. He thought that was a cheap shot. Funnily enough, in 2001, Clem made it onto the People magazine's list of America's top 50 bachelors.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine reading that list? There's all these names you recognize. I think like Josh Hartnett was on the same list or something. And then it's like, which in 2001 was, that was the shit.
Yeah.
He was the shit.
He was the shit.
And then Baron Clement von Frankenstein.
I wonder if he was 50th. I want to know the rank. I want to know the rank.
I know. It's surprising, but I think it delighted him. He was very excited about that.
I could imagine so.
Yes.
To be on any hot anything list.
Totally.
I'd also be ecstatic.
Oh my
about
God.
that.
He was so into it. But nobody met his standards. And he had actually mentioned that he wanted to pass his title on, which is hilarious to me because I think he's been like, I don't have a title for his whole life. And then he's like, now I want to pass my title on and honestly, being a baron, it's, if you look it up, or a lord, it's like the lowest nobility. Not to look, I don't have any nobility. I'm not trying to, hate on his nobility, but it's not like he's not like the King of England, obviously, because that just happened, and his name is Charles.
Oh gosh. Side note, the pictures from the coronation,
those crowns have to be reworked.
Oh my gosh, everyone looks fucking miserable to be there.
It's not a glamorous event. He's not a young king.
By any means.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
Nobody cares anymore.
Really, truly.
Meghan tore it down.
Like the American she is.
Yes. She was like, this is not the shit anymore. And we were like, okay.
You're right, Megan, you're right.
But still, the only woman who ever had a long-standing presence in his life was his beloved cat, Tallulah.
Tallulah. I love that name.
Yes. She's so cute. She's on his Instagram, too. I'll show you, Tallulah. And she died just 2 months before he died.
I wonder if he died from a broken heart.
I know. Look at this is him and Tallulah.
Oh my gosh. So right now, we're looking at his Instagram.
Yes.
And it's a photo of him in aviators.
Yep.
Holding Tallulah, who is a white.
Yeah, mostly white. She's got a few tan spots.
With
face.
Blue eyes. She's a gorgeous little lady.
And he shared information about her. He gave a eulogy. Yes.
Okay.
And he lovingly said, Tallulah has been my rock for 18 years. An actor's life is an emotional roller coaster full of hills and valleys. Khalil Gibran once wrote in The Prophet, in order to experience great joy, you have to first experience great sadness. And Tallulah helped me meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, better than any other pet I've ever had. She was the greatest cat.
Oh my God.
So really the love of his life was Tallulah, for sure.
For sure. Tallulah's rapidly becoming the love of my life. Goodness gracious.
Tallulah's what every actor needs. That's really what he's saying.
Yeah. You need an emotional support animal to be in this game. Goodness gracious. I myself have one.
Yes. Two. Well, one that qualifies and one that doesn't.
Yeah. One that is legally my emotional support animal.
Yeah. One that gets to go on the plane.
Oh my gosh. But I love Tallulah. I love old people names for animals. It's the best. Courtney has a cat named Eleanor, and then her second cat is named Ralphie.
Yes.
Ralph,
who's now Wreck-It Ralph because he broke a lot of my dishes the other day by knocking the whole drying rack off of the counter. But yes, I also love those names. And I love her name.
I love it. And my dog's names are Trudy and Gus.
Yes, which is very fitting for them. We will share pictures eventually as well of all the animals, of all the fur babies.
Yes, right.
And to finish his story off, the last Baron Clement von Frankenstein tall tale occurred at his funeral. And I fucking love this. I want to quote his obituary from the Times exactly.
Okay.
Because they recount it perfectly.
Okay.
At the start of his funeral, a woman in her 20s, matching von Frankenstein's requisite, which, as we've discussed, sidebar, is being buxom.
And smart.
So, at the start of his funeral, a woman in her 20s, matching von Frankenstein's requisites and known to his friends, placed herself in the front pew. Then another arrived and announced it was she who was Clem's girlfriend. Something of a contretemps ensued. And then this whole obituary ends with, well, nobody's perfect. Basically, we all think he had two girlfriends in their 20s, And that they both were at the funeral fighting over which one of them was his actual girlfriend.
Wow.
Which is like such a dramatic way to end your life. I mean,
what a play it to the end,
absolutely. Clem he was such a dirty bachelor up until the very end. He was truly like confusing the ladies right until he was all the way out death's door.
Wow.
So,
wow, Clem.
That has been the story of Baron Clement von Frankenstein. And if you'd like to pay your respects, I will include a link to the location of his grave. But I'll tell you right now, it is located on the outside of the Cathedral Mausoleum in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. It's very close to the Johnny Ramone grave for those of you who need an obvious reference point. So I'm sure if you want to visit him, that Clem would appreciate it if you poured out a cognac for him or left him a fine cigar and just really toasted him and told him that he was a dirty old tart, a cad, and that he is lovingly remembered by even more people who didn't have the pleasure of knowing him, but maybe got to know him a little bit through this podcast.
Aw, Clement.
Such a sweet guy.
Wow. And for those of you who want to internet stalk him, his Instagram handle is Clement Von.
Clement Von, yes.
I want to see what his last picture is that he posted.
Yeah, this is almost it.
His second to last was the one with his cat.
Mm-hmm. It's him at a fancy party with like other people with titles.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it's him at a fancy party with his dear cousin Countess Michelle Serzin von Schudenzitz. Wow.
Clem really he ran in all the circles. He ran in the Hollywood circles. He ran in the royal circles. I don't feel at all sad that Clem died a bachelor. I feel like he went the way he wanted.
He died how he lived.
He died how he lived. He was definitely happy, I think, with the way he did it. You know?
I'm happy with the way he did it. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Do we know how he died? Or
yes, that's true. Sorry, I didn't mention that. He died of a heart attack.
All those cognacs and
all
cigars.
Those cognacs and
they got him.
There was another story I didn't even mention about him, because again, it's basically just he was drunk. That's the story. So I didn't include
Clem.
it. But it was like he had a bunch of vodka at a party and called someone and told them that he was at the hospital, and they're like, "Wait, what's all that sound in the background?" And he's like, "Actually, I'm still at the party."
Oh my god.
So he was a hard drinker. He was a hard liver. He was pretty fabulous though. And actually, you know what, now that I'm thinking of it, I didn't include this in my notes, but I know it exists and I want to mention it. And this is from one of his many friends, is the way that this quote is attributed.
Okay.
He talked too loud. He drank too much. He cursed like a sailor. But he also sang like an angel, let strangers crash on his couch, and cried like a baby when his kitten was sick. He offended some, charmed many, but was forgotten by none.
Oh,
isn't that sweet?
Gosh, that's so sweet, yes. Clem. It sounds like Clem lived a very full, happy life.
Yes.
And I am here for that. And let's all raise a glass.
Of cognac.
Of cognac, specifically.
Yes.
To the Baron Clement von... I already forgot.
It's a long name.
Let's all raise a glass to the Baron Clement von Frankenstein.
Ding!
Ding! Cheers, cheers.
Cheers, cheers. If we've piqued your curiosity, please subscribe on Substack at deadandkindofamous.substack.com. We list each episode there along with photos, newsletters, sources, and more. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, you might not be famous, but you got a story to tell and you're not dead yet.